I am a fan.
Phone call.
Oh, nope, not yet, Rob. I was talking. You had to jump in, you had to pipe in. So I'm a fan of Rob Gavigan. I'm a fan of Rob Gavigan. This is the case no one could explain, Serious Strange 134. The thumbnail was just like 3 lights and then a circle, so I have no idea. I got a feeling after I listen to it, I'm going to explain exactly what happened. So let's just get into the video. Let's tickle them titties, boys.
Phone calls are commonplace in our society, with over 1 billion calls a day, and some reports suggest as many as 1.3 million calls every minute. But in 1967, far fewer calls were made and received, naturally. So when the 4 phone lines at the lawyer's office of Sigmund Adam would ring hour after hour, it was an extremely odd occurrence, as secretaries did their best to answer the calls as they came in. When they picked up, they would only be met with silence. Additionally, outgoing calls would be made to the talking clock phone line, a service that provides the exact time. There would be 6 calls a minute made to the time clock, a feat that even the phone company proved would be impossible with rotary phones of the time.
Has anyone ever, on an old landline, ever received a phone call and when you answer, it's like a fax machine line, and it's just... It's one of the most annoying things. I had a fax company, or I didn't have a fax company. I had a company that kept hitting me with their fax machine. They were dialing the wrong number. I had like 13 calls 1 hour, and then 6 the next hour, and then it was almost 30. And I would call back, and I would get the exact same sound. And so this was in 2002, 2003, something like that. So fax machines were actually being used. And I had to look up the company based on the number that I was getting. And it was out of like Oklahoma or something like that. And I had to look them up and call them. And they had been having issues with their fax machine as to why it wasn't dialing through. And I was like, yeah, you guys have called. It was like in a 3-hour span. It was ridiculous. It was almost 60 phone calls. And I was like, yeah, because you keep dialing us instead. Or 4-hour span, it was 60 calls, something like that. So they changed 2 digits around, never had another phone call. And I thought, oh, thank goodness, because, every single time it rang, you answered. It was, I don't think anyone's had that bad, and this has never happened again, but it was annoying.
Even when technicians were monitoring the situation and could verify no workers in the office were on the phone, the outgoing calls persisted. Little did they know that these phone calls would just be the beginning of the bizarre events that would bring media attention to the small town of Rosenheim, Germany. I'm Rob Gavigan, and I'll be your guide through the strange and the mysterious. So turn off the lights, get comfortable, and subscribe to my channel for more, because I've got a lot more in store for you.
Oh, I gotta turn out the lights. Hold on. No, I'm not doing that. What? You sneak a goddamn ad in here? What are you doing? VHS sound.
This episode is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. The free-to-play fantasy mobile RPG is back, and we're not stopping until all 8 billion people on this planet are playing it, including remote tribes that are so isolated that they think airplanes are dragons. To kick off the new year, Raid's got a new season of the Forge Pass, the Plarium Points program, which can get you in-game swag like hot new champs to show off, and as many as you already know, that's...
Damn, that was a long commercial, wasn't it?
To increase. Lights in the office would flicker on and off at varying intervals and swing in their fixtures. Light bulbs would visibly rotate in their sockets. When maintenance workers attempted to solve the issue and replace the bulbs with lower voltage ones, the bulbs would do what any bulbs would do. They exploded. When the local power company came to investigate, they noticed there were inexplicable surges in the current. Assuming the problem to be with faulty power lines, they attempted to run a cable directly from the generator to the office, and yet the lights continued to flicker and explode. Electricians from the German Power Board installed voltmeters in the office and found the sudden surges in current were enough to blow the fuses, and yet none of the fuses were damaged. Word of the strange events eventually got out, and a reporter came to the office. Upon leaving, a bulb unscrewed itself and nearly hit the journalist in the head. Dumbfounded, he left with no other explanations. It was at this point Sigmund Adam would turn to less conventional means for an explanation. Hans Bender was a renowned parapsychologist known for establishing IGPP, an institute devoted to the research of unexplained phenomena and anomalies at the limits of our knowledge. These include altered states of consciousness, extraordinary human experiences, psychophysical relationships, and so on. Bender heard of the mysterious happenings and came to investigate the phenomenon. While in the office, Bender was able to obtain video evidence of the supernatural events. In addition to the possessed lights, the officer copier would mysteriously begin to leak fluid. Calendar pages would be ripped from the wall, and paintings would fly across the room. Most shocking was when a 400-pound cabinet was seen sliding several feet across the floor, and yet when examined, the linoleum flooring beneath the cabinet had not been damaged. Unspecified tests were made by physicists Friedbert Karger and Gerhard Zika, who reported that, quote, some unknown form of energy is at work. Poltergeist hauntings differ from a more conventional normal haunting in that they are far more active and violent. Objects being thrown, strange knocking, electrical interference, typically always malevolent in nature, are all hallmarks of a poltergeist. Also present in many poltergeist hauntings is a teenager, often female. When it was noticed that the paranormal events only seemed to occur when a recently hired secretary named Anne-Marie Chabrol came into the office, Bender focused on the 19-year-old as being the root of the occurrences. Anne-Marie had been hired in early 1967 as an administrative clerk for the office of Sigmund Adam. She had been raised in the country with a strict disciplinarian of a father. In addition to having recently recovered from an illness, not long before her employment began, her then fiancé broke off their engagement during a bowling game. It's believed Anne-Marie had caused the scoreboard to malfunction. The beautiful young woman was clearly unhappy in life and her job, and was often stressed and anxious. Upon interviewing Anne-Marie, Bender was able to find out that she deeply disliked both her job and her colleagues. As well, all the phantom calls to the talking clock were occurring when Anne-Marie was thinking about how much time was left before she could go home. Bender was able to discover that while
she starts thinking about how much time she has left, and then all of a sudden the phone starts ringing telling her the time. That's weird. Whole thing's weird so far, but that's really weird.
Anne-Marie herself had no interest in the paranormal, members of her family were interested in spiritualism. In fact, her aunt was a well-known clairvoyant in Dusseldorf. In parapsychology, recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis, also known as RSPK, is when an individual unknowingly and unwittingly uses telekinesis when they are feeling intense emotions. The energy of their emotions can react violently to the environment around them, causing a poltergeist-like phenomenon. Bender reached out to Anne-Marie's aunt for advice. Her aunt advised that she could feel, quote, some sort of extreme threatening presence, and that Anne-Marie required, quote, spiritual strength and guidance. On the recommendation of her aunt, a local priest performed a rite of exorcism in the law offices. During the service, 4 light bulbs burst over the heads of those in attendance. By January 1968, the activity had become so great that Sigmund Adam was left with no choice but to fire Anne-Marie Chabrol. Once she left, the activity at the office ceased completely. Allegedly, the activity began again in Anne-Marie's new office, but ceased altogether when she got married. Perhaps now happy in life, she was free from the supernatural occurrences that had surrounded her.
"12 hours of uninterrupted pain relief. Aleve."
This is really weird.
This is a
Yep. Controversy.
The Rosenheim Poltergeist quickly became famous and was cited all over the world as one of the most reliable cases of a poltergeist or telekinetic phenomenon. It had been witnessed by those working in the office, professional technicians, researchers, journalists, and police alike. An overwhelming majority of unbiased researchers who studied it had to admit that no rational or physical explanation could be found. That being said, hardcore paranormal deniers attempted to debunk the event. In the years following the incident, a story in a German weekly newspaper, Die Zeit, reported that co-authors Albin Neumann, Herbert Schiff, and Gert Gunther Kramer suggested in their book, False Spirits, Real Swindlers, that the claims of disturbances initially made by Adam were fraudulent. They claimed to have visited the offices and discovered nylon threads attached to the office fixtures, such as overhead lights and wall plates that, when pulled, would cause the fixtures to move.
Okay.
It's worth noting there is no record of the men having actually visited the office. Sigmund Adam filed a legal injunction to stop the publication of the book. However, the request was not granted. Journalist Pete Hein Hobens criticized Bender's investigation, saying that, quote, "No full report of the investigations has ever been published, so we are in no position to check to what extent the parapsychologists have been successful in excluding naturalistic explanations."
So, more than likely, they just made it up. Not made it up. This is what we believe happened. They tied nylon string to the light. Boom, boom, boom. Going with it. Why not investigate? Why not go there and check? Now, granted, if it is fake, they're obviously going to remove the nylon string or dental floss or whatever. But why not just investigate? Maybe, just maybe, they didn't remove everything. Maybe they've accidentally left some dental floss or some string, something. Go there and check. If that's what your job is, then do your job.
He went on to say, quote, "Bender omits from his account the highly significant fact that Anne-Marie was caught in fraud by a policeman. Neither does he mention the inconclusive but curious discoveries reported by Avini's magician after a visit to the Rosenheim office during the poltergeist outbreak."
Did that even
unquote.
happen?
In truth, Sigmund Adam had requested Bender not publish a report or his footage. Adam and all his colleagues made no attempt to make money as charlatans who would cheat the gullible. In fact, the small law office had nothing to gain and everything to lose by disclosing the events. They ran a serious practice, and nobody would be interested in availing their services or working in a place where light bulbs explode, telephones and photocopiers don't work, and objects fly off of walls.
I'm not going to take a lawyer serious if he works at a place that is creating or staging some sort of falsehood of a paranormal experience. Hell no, I'm not going there. I just don't want to be at a place with all that attention. Now, I would go to a place if, say, they got a lot of attention because they always won, they were good to their clients. Hell yeah, I'm going there. But I'm not latching on to this. If it's fake and they're behind it, hell no, I don't want anything to do with that. Just, it's logic.
As well, the damage and repairs generated huge costs and hazardous situations. The debate still remains on whether the event was a hoax, a natural anomaly, or supernatural in nature. Regardless, no concrete cause of the Rosenheim poltergeist has ever been discovered. The Rosenheim poltergeist is one of many famous cases, like the Enfield haunting or the Bell Witch, where the most widely believed source is that of the, quote, naughty little girl theory, as coined by psychic researcher Frank Podmore. The belief is that adolescents, especially young girls, are prone to causing the disturbances, whether through trickery or through recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis. It is true electromagnetic waves exist. Every day they're used in the function of devices from televisions to cell phones. While strange and unusual now, who is to say that a century from now we won't have unequivocally proven the existence of talents like RSPK? Until that time comes, the Rosenheim poltergeist will be known as a classic mystery and one of the most well-documented and unforgettable cases of possible paranormal activity. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Was it real? Could it be explained naturally? Was it all just a hoax? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, you may not believe it, but anything is possible in a world so seriously strange. If you like dark and mysterious content like...
I don't have enough... This is probably one of the first times I don't have enough information to say it's real or it's not. All I know is if there's a group of people that are claiming it's fake, but they never investigated, I'm curious to come to know how they came to that conclusion, other than negligence and laziness. If it's real, how do you come to that conclusion? Yeah, I don't know. I don't have enough information here, but based on what I have, I really don't have an opinion. Other than, yeah, it's creepy. I tend to believe more that it would be real only because I don't think a legit law firm would want this attention. Because you're not going to keep customers. Clients. My apologies. Okay. I'm going to end this here. And I think I am done for the day. Oh, this chair. I love the chair. Hate the sounds. I feel like I'm going to sit down in it one day and the thing's just going to go right into my spine. Okay. I'm ending it. We're done. Show's over, folks. You can't go home, but you got to stay here on my channel watching other videos. So, like and subscribe. And, this is, do whatever you want. Insert your own line here.